Good morning, doctor. I'm Sini. So today I'm going to present on how to use a Django framework within the Python to do machine learning models and deploy it into a web application. So to recall back the case study for my project. My project is mainly deploying the machine learning algorithm to predict appliance energies consumption based on different inputs filled by the user, and then to help them to optimize their energy usage pattern. So the first step, so we can see that the first step is to build the web application is through setting up the Django first. So first we need to open the CMD, which is the command prompt. So after opening the command prompt, we need to use the make directories, which is the mkdir command to create a folder first, which is for the purpose of our project. So first we cd to the desktop first, maybe, so we can easily access the folder. Okay, so after we go to the desktop, which is the file place, so we need to create the folder, so using the mkdir. So the folder we name it at appliances. Okay, so after we create this appliances folder, we need to cd into the folder itself. So now we are inside the folder. So after we are inside the folder, we need to first create a virtual environment, so to ensure that the dependency downloaded is does not conflict with other project or application within the same machine. So next we need to create the virtual environment using the pipe env install Django within the appliance folder, which is our project folder. So next we need to wait for the virtual environment to be created. Okay, so it might need some time for it to create. So we can see that here it's right, successfully created the virtual environment. So later on we will need to activate the environment in order for us to use the dependencies and also create the web application within the virtual environment itself. So it's better to avoid some problems like happening conflict. So it might take some time for it to run. So we can see that after we create, okay, done. Yeah, so after that we need to activate the environment using the pipe env shell command. Okay, so so now we can see that the command is actually generated successfully, where we are now under the virtual environment of the appliances file. So next moving on is opening the Django admin command, using the Django admin command to see some of the features that involve some of the features that we can use within the Django framework to build a web application. Okay, so it might take some time. Okay, so here is some of the command that we can use to build our web applications when we are using Django. So now we have already have the project. So now we need to start start the new project within the folder. So we need to use the Django admin again, Django admin command, together with the start project command. Okay, so we name the project as the same name as the folder, which is appliance. Okay, so we need to add the full stop in the end of the command to ensure that does not have duplicated folder or many folder name under the same root folder. So after we open, we can actually use the code dot command to see the folder within the VS Code. So we can see that the appliances project is already created with five default file, and then we can and then the manage.python file is actually can be used for us to create for us to replace the as the alternative commands in using the Django admin. So we can actually, okay, so next we need to create a application within the project itself. So we can use the python manage.py, which is just now the file, to run the to replace the command of Django admin. And then we use a start apps. So the apps, we need to name it as prediction. Okay. Okay. So after that, okay, after it run, we can see from the VS Code there. So we can see that from the VS Code, there is actually a prediction application that has been set up with with some of the default file. So one of the benefits of using Django is because Django can set up have scalability, where we can actually set up many different many different applications within the project itself. This is especially useful when we want to create a big project. So we actually can use it as a systematic structure for our projects to be easily get obtain any information that we need in details. Okay, so after we create the projects, I will show the so we can actually beside using the command prompt, we can also use the integrated terminal. So we can actually use the new terminal. So the benefit of using the integrated terminal in VS Code as compared to the command prompt is that the integrated terminal can actually help us to automatically activate the virtual environment. So we can so here we can see that the environment is automatically activated. So we can actually also run our server here. So next I will proceed with using my code that already built up for the Django, using the Django framework for my appliance energy consumption prediction. So I will first close this one. Okay, so moving on. So after we successfully create the energy consumption, which is the root folder, which is our project name, and the energy prediction, which is my applications. So so next step is to open the setting file, which is under the project, which is the root file. And then we need to add on our application, which is energy prediction, inside the install app. So after we add the successfully adding in the setting .python file, we need to save it every time when we have any configuration. So we save it using control plus save. Okay, so next continue with the prediction models. So the best models has chosen is the random forest models to predict the appliance energy consumption. Therefore we need to do some pre-processings by training the models, like standardizations, and also splitting the data into test and training set. And then after the model is being trained with the relevant data, I have actually saved the model as a PKL file using the pickle module, and then load it to make prediction and test on the prediction whether it's run correctly. So after we have the prediction model file, we will continue with the wheel file. So in the wheel file, which is the default file provided in each of the application created, we actually need to define the predictions models functions for for the back end to handle the request and also process on the form that's submitted by the user, and then also make predictions on to display on on the web application site. So in order to create the function, we actually need to first create a form which allow the users to fill in the variables the variables needed to make the data pass into each of the features to predict the appliance energy consumption. So we can actually see that here is there's total 21 features that needed to fill by the user itself. So after that, after we create the form, we actually need to create also a HTML file, which is as a template for the users to actually they for them to have a user friendly interface so that they can easily access and also fill up the form. So we can see that so here is some of the CSS that styling that has been incorporated inside, and also the form of and also and so setting a class for the form group, and also some requirements setting all the fields to be required to insert in order to submit the predict button. So after the prediction is successfully clicked, they can actually see the prediction results at the bottom of the web. So we actually created the function, which is the predict energy consumption function inside the wheel file, in order for it to process the data and also turn out and also train the and also predict the predictions using the previous HTML file and the form insert. So after that, we actually need to map the URL in both the root file, which is the energy consumption, and also the energy prediction, which is the application file. So inside the applications, we actually have a URL that we need to map. So the name is created as predict, where the URLs later on when we run the server, we not need to insert the predict in the end of the URL of our local host in order to make it to the web application of prediction. So after that, we also need to link the URL file in the application into the root file, which is the project path. So here is how to link it with the include function. So here actually have the default command that help us to know how to use the anything inside the default file. So after the URL have been mapped, we can actually run the server and then test on the web application. So so this is the last step of using deploying the data science models into the web application. So we can actually so the virtual environment already activated itself, so we actually can run the server by using Python manage.py run server to run the server. So if we want to make it like a specific number of port number, we can actually put the port number in after the run server. If you want to specify it to avoid clash with other application or other project. So now we can actually open this, which is our web application. So so to remind, we need to input the predict also in the end of the URL, because we have the URL mapping of this name. So here is my website, which is my first website. So here we can see that it's a simple website that users have a clear understanding of what is the website's workflow, which is to predict the appliance energy consumption, and then they need to fill in all the fields in order for it to make prediction. So they can also use this up and down arrow in order to fill in, but they can also type using the keyboard if they want, for example like 17, 18, 19. Okay, so just for testing purpose, I will put all the same value just for testing to demonstrate the prediction that can be displayed. So because if we didn't insert all the value, it actually can't predict the prediction. So when we click predict, if we all the fields have the value, okay, it's running, so we can actually see the prediction result here. Yeah, so this is the prediction result. So it's right that the appliance energy consumed will be 250 watt per hour. So this I also included a function of jump to top hyperlink, which help us to effectively go back to the top of the website, which is a common practice in building a web application. Yeah, so that's all of using Django to deploy data science, which is machine learning models, into a web application. So for this case study is predicting the appliance energy consumptions easily. Yeah, so that's all for this demonstration purpose. Thanks.